Welcome everyone to the training webinar series, Eyefinity Encompass Medical Exams and Special Plans presentation. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to your questions throughout the presentation. You can enter them by clicking on the Q&A icon on the top of your screen. My name is Linda Park, and it is my pleasure to be with you today to introduce Jonathan Barfield. Jonathan has more than 16 years in education and 20 years in healthcare IT experience. He is a trainer for Eyefinity events, including education conferences, on-sites, and hands-on sessions. He is a United States Air Force veteran and an alumni at the University of Georgia. In his free time, he enjoys the outdoors. He currently lives in Maine with his wife and daughter. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hello. How is everybody doing? This is my first webinar, and I'm very excited to be here to present some new EHR, well, newish EHR functions that you may or may not know about. What do we mean by medical and special plans? Really, we want to show, how to document, simple medical visits and special plans using the single screen workflow. There's a lot of different names for the single screen workflow. It's the SOAP note. If you're using the iPad, which we will be using today, we have two terms. We have the waffle view and the pancake view. When you see those views, it will make sense why we call them that. I'm going to work through a couple different visits today. Just to save time, when we get to the vision exam element, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going in deep on the vision exam element. I might do the bare minimum: visual acuities, pupils, motility, visual fields, and IOP, just for billing purposes in some areas. But I'm not going to spend a ton of time in the vision area. We're going to focus on everything around that area. So I'm going to go ahead and share my iPad screen. Okay, hopefully everybody is seeing my iPad screen.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, so I do have a visit scheduled for today. We're going to use this same patient over and over again today. We're going to start pretty simple today. We're going to start with just a simple red eye visit. And off of that visit, we're going to use the we're going to do a follow-up off of that. And we're going to do some view import previous. Once again, you might already be using these functions. We're specifically going to be using these from the single screen workflow. Okay, so maybe you are familiar with these if you're going into the ocular exam. I'm not going to go into the ocular exam a single time. Okay, if that confuses you, how you're going to complete a visit, then you are going to be very happy at the end of this today, because with all these new functionalities, the system is a lot more suitable to an everyday visit. Okay, there's a lot more flexibility in how you enter information. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new visit. Okay, so earlier we were talking about waffle view and pancake view. What I'm referring to is this up here. Okay, if you've been a long-term iPad user and you have not been using this view, this is what you're used to. Okay, it's a good view. All right, I think in some ways that this view does have some functions, or the layout is a little bit more visually appealing. But as far as functionality and efficiency in entering a visit, it does not compare to the waffle view. You can do all the same things in here, except you can do a lot of stuff from just this page. Okay, if I would like to review the past medical history, I can easily switch up here. All right, I have my iLog button down here in the bottom left. I can view documents. I have my finalize. I can go into my visit settings, and let me get rid of that. And if I have my more, I can easily go into my more. I can go into my clipboard. Also here, if I'd like to mark as reviewed. Like I said, I'm not going to go through, these areas like this in the vision exam just to save some time today. But you can still do all the same functionalities that you can do in the other view. What I like about this view, okay, is that it allows you to add a lot of information just from a drop down. So if I'm in the waffle view, okay, I must go into the chief complaint area to do all of that stuff in there. From this view, I can simply click this drop down and I only need to do what I need to do. Okay, so I'm going to click chief complaint. Here's my chief complaint. I'm going to choose red eye. I'm going to say it's in both eyes. All right, and now I'm going to work across my HPI. You're all familiar with this. I'm going to just do a little bit. Maybe they're irritated, duration, number of days, and just to save time, we'll be good with that. And notice when I hit save, it immediately comes back to this page. I don't have to go and leave and click to the overview or go into the vision exam. It immediately comes back here. So I can easily, if I want, I can click here and I can do my review of systems. So they came in, they have, some eye pain, itchy eye pain, and I'm going to mark all reviewed. I'm going to save that and watch. It goes right back to this screen. Same as on the browser version. If you're using the browser version, same thing. You can add all this from drop down rather than going back. This is really good if later on, maybe your techs are in the habit of just entering comprehensive visits for everything. Later on, comes to find out the patient might have some red eye. Instead of having going back into the chief complaint, I can just come here and add a secondary complaint very easily right here. Okay. Vision exam. So if you are using the browser, okay, you've probably seen this, but on the browser version, over here to the right where there's a manage, there's an add tests now. You can do the entire vision exam directly from the screen. The iPad's a little bit different, whereas you still have to go into the eye exam in order to perform all these tests. It kind of makes me whereas previously, before all the changes, I liked the iPad workflow a lot better. Now, kind of the browser allows you a lot more options to add singular tests. And I'm speaking just towards the vision exam. It's very fluid. And if I have time at the end, I'll try and share my screen and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can finalize visits. You can do anything outside of the vision exam just from a little drop down rather than going into the entire vision exam. Okay. For us, we're going to have to go in. And like I said, I'm going to do the very bare minimum here. I'm going to do some visual acuities, pupils, motility, visual fields, and IOP just to save some time for us today. All right. I'm going to mark my pupils' motility. I'm going to go into my visual acuities. And like I said, I'm going to be very basic here. All right. And now I'm going to go back to my overview. Okay. If you're used to going into your exam, we're not going to do that anymore. Okay. So we're going to document the rest of this from this very page. Okay. I'm going to scroll down. You can see our vision exam. We have all our information. If I put my fingers in here, I can spread them apart. I can bring them farther apart. I can scroll this around. All right. And now I'm down to my ocular exam and impressions and plans. So we're going to tag on to this. We're going to start with this to dry eye, and then I'm going to turn this into a refractive visit. And then we're even going to address some cataracts. We're going to do a lot on this, but we are addressing the red eye first. Okay, so I'm going to click right over here, and I'm going to click on this simple eye exam. All right, if you haven't seen the simple eye exam, this is the eye exam that you've always been used to, but a lot less clicks. Okay, up here in my options, this is where I can manage my dilated, my fundus, my slit lamp, my disc. Let's go ahead and turn off the fundus and disc and the dilated. All right. You can also quickly add disc ratios. We'll see that later on. We'll come back in here and add disc ratios when I turn this into a refractive visit. You can also add all your findings in here. Okay. These are all the same findings that you can enter in your regular eye exam. And I'll show you what I mean by your regular eye exam. So notice it's just my slit lamp. If I come over here and click on the eye exam, this is what you're used to seeing on the browser. Okay, all these tabs going down the left-hand side, your disc. The simple eye exam is the exact same thing, except you can enter all these same findings just from starting typing them in those little findings box. I'm also going to show you how you can add findings when addressing the diagnosis. Okay, so we're going to see that here in a second. All right, so I'm going to leave this slit lamp as is, and you can see everything is normal. Okay, so this is the, fairly new stuff. If you are not using this, I really want to encourage you to use this browser or iPad. Okay. This is going to be very efficient. I am not using protocols right now. Okay. But you can still use protocols. I'll demonstrate how using protocols with this, it's even more efficient. Okay. But even without protocols, this new area is so much more efficient than the old way of going through the ocular exam, for making changes, for putting the specific information for each diagnosis. Okay, so I'm simply going to click on diagnosis. And I'm just going to say allergic conjunctivitis. We're going to keep this pretty basic. Okay. Here's my popular plans. Just like on the browser, in the ocular exam, it remembers all your popular plans. Okay. And then here's the rest of my plans. So I'm just going to start clicking on my plans. This is where I really like this view. It's in one of the areas I really like this view. I'm just going to click on everything. Notice it's not making me address that plan right away, as it does in the ocular exam. I click on counseling. It brings up that counseling block. Why must I address that counseling block and hit done every time? Because I have all my stickies set up in that counseling block. So it's just more of me having to click through things just to get rid of it, get through it. Whereas I can just add all my plans here. So I'm just going to have a follow-up in the over-the-counter regimen. And I'm going to close this. Earlier, I said you can add findings with the diagnosis. Before I hit save, I'm going to go ahead and click here, and we'll say we got a little finding just like that. And I'm going to hit save. And another new feature that you do not have using the old way in the ocular exam, you can mark it right, left, or bilateral. If you're using the ocular exam, you got to click on each eye. I'm just going to click bilateral, and I'm done. Just like that. Now I can scroll down and I can start resuming my plan. So like I said, in the ocular exam, I have to click done on this. It has to open up. I might want to come in here and resume this counseling or change the decision on it or whatever I need. But I have the option to resume that now rather than being forced to have that pop up and having to be done with it. My follow-up, the same thing. I'm going to hit resume on this. And we're going to say 6 days. And we're going to done on that. All right. My over-the-counter regimen. You can see my stickies are set up. I have artificial tears, cool compress. If that's all I want, that's all I want for that. Okay. So, at this point, I can easily make changes to this diagnosis. Okay. Let's say I want to change the complexity of the diagnosis. I can simply click right here. And I can change it from acute uncomplicated to acute complicated if you ever need to do that. If I want to add a plan, I can simply come and add plans. Okay. If I'm also addressing a refractive error, let's say I address the red eye. Now I'm addressing myopia. Hey, I forgot to add my over-the-counter regimen to my allergic conjunctivitis. Here, you can simply add it. Click a button. If I go into the exam, look how hard it is for me. So let's say I'm addressing myopia now, okay? And during my myopia, I realized that I didn't add my over-the-counter regimen for my my medical issue. I have to finish out with my refractive error. I'll go ahead and add my refraction. Look at this. I have to address this. Here you go. Why do I have to click done on a refraction plan? Okay. Now I'm going to click on my follow-up. And now I'm going to click on my counseling. Now I can go and add a plan to my other one by clicking quick impression edit. And I have to now resume it to go back into that diagnosis. And now I can, there's just so much clicking and so much workflow. Whereas, let me come back here and I'm going to delete this myopia. Let's go back to our overview. All right, let's delete this over-the-counter measurement and let's see how easy this is while I'm doing this. Okay, so I've addressed my allergic conjunctivitis, but I forgot my over-the-counter regimen. Okay, now I'm going to address my myopia. Watch how fast this is. Myopia. I want my follow-up, my counseling, and my refraction, and I'm going to hit save. I'm going to mark it bilateral, and I'm done. And now, without going anywhere, I can just hit add plans. And I'm going to add my over-the-counter regimen for my allergic conjunctivitis. See how smooth it is. It just fits a lot better rather than how regimented the ocular exam is. I have to go and resume the diagnosis to make any changes to that diagnosis. I have to go to the quick impression edit to even get to that. Whereas I can do everything I need right from this page. Okay, so we have our refractive error. I would probably do a full eye exam now. Let me go. Notice my findings that I entered with my diagnosis are populated on both eyes. I'm going to click on my simple eye exam. Let's go ahead and turn back on fundus disc. And we're going to leave a dilated off because instead of dilating, I'm going to do a retinal photo on this patient. All right. Show you how to enter some special plans. Enter my disc ratios. All right. So now I've added back in my ocular exam and we got my disc ratios. All right. So special plans. What if I do want to add my screening testing that I use? My special plans in the ocular exam, you go click on special plans. Here, there's a little toggle switch on the browser. It's kind of right over here. But here, I'm just going to click on special plans. I can scroll up for screening testing. And I'm going to choose my screening retinal photos. And I'm going to hit save. I'm going to click on each eye. So we did a photo on each. And there you go. All right. So now I'll have my retinal photos. Here's my photos. It's a screening. Everything's marked normal. And there we go. All right. So I added my allergic conjunctivitis first. And this turned into obviously a refractive visit. I want that refractive error to be up top. Okay. See how easy it is in this view? I'm going to go right up here and I'm going to click reorder impressions. And I'm going to drag that myopia right up and I'm going to hit save. All right. Even plans. You know, I know some of you doctors are very, very picky. Not all of you, but some of you, I know you are. Let's say I always want my counseling first. Okay. I can easily click reorder plans here. And I'm going to move my counseling right up, hit reorder, and there you go. All right. Notice my counseling is obviously missing some counseling. This is the counseling for refractive disorder. Okay. So I'm going to click resume on this. And I'm going to check off my myopia. And I'm going to say they have presbyopia and stigmatism. And I'm going to done with that. All right. So you might be used to using the associate diagnosis. How do we do that in this view? To the far right, I'm going to select more. Actually, I just closed it and I'm going to click associate. And now I'm going to check off my regular stigmatism and presbyopia. Select done. And there you go. And now I've just added in my associated diagnosis. So all the things you're used to in that other view, okay, you can do in this view. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to add on to this visit. I know we're just adding on and on and on to this visit, but I just want to demonstrate a lot of different functionalities on this one visit to show you how easy it is to just kind of transition in this view rather than having using quick impression edit and all that. So this patient also has some cataracts. Okay. We're going to say they have cataracts in both eyes, different types in each eye, 1+ in one, 2+ in the other, or however you want to work that. How do we get those cataracts on those specific eyes? All right. So this is going to be a pretty basic. We're just observing these cataracts, counseling, follow-up. All right. I'm going to click on special plans. I mean, not special plans. I'm going to turn that off. Actually, I'm going to close that. And now we're addressing a diagnosis again. Okay, I'm going to choose age-related cataract. And like I said, we're going to keep this pretty basic. I'm going to add my counseling and follow up. There you go. And before I hit save, I'm going to click on findings. Okay. All right. So like I said, I'm going to say we have a 1 plus in maybe our right eye and a 2 plus in the left, or vice versa. So I'm just going to add both in here, 1 plus and then a 2 plus. And then I'm going to click save. Okay, so the first thing we're doing is addressing our diagnosis code location. So all ICD-10 codes are location specific. So they do have cataracts in both eyes. So I'm going to mark it bilateral. All right. If I was to hit done right now, I would have both of those findings on both eyes. Findings always default to both eyes. Okay. So on this screen, I'm going to specify. All right. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on this finding. And now, and I could switch to laterality. I'm going to click right. And on my 2 plus, I'm going to click left. All right. So I'm specifying the eyes on those findings. Now, when I hit done, I'm going to scroll up just a little bit to my eye exam. Take a look. I have my 1 plus and my 2 plus. All right. If I forget to do that and I get to this screen, okay, and I notice that they're on both, no worries. You can always fix it. You can scroll on down, go to your diagnosis, and you can click more and add body locations. And now you can address those eyes. All right. When you come back to it, you have to click the eyes. You can't use the laterality again, unfortunately. All right. Notice our ICD-10 expert. So on the ocular exam view, you have a little prompt to do your ICD-10. Same for this view. I'm going to click right here. I'm done with that. So billing wise, in this view, I can come up, I can see my screening code, I can see my 92015, I can see my 92004. I also probably qualified for a level 399 code, which is expected for this type of visit. All the same functionalities. If I would like to override billing, all my override billing features that you have available in any other view, in your waffle view, you can go ahead and take a look at that right here. All right. Okay, we're going to start a new visit. Okay, and we're going to do a quick diabetic eval. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our patient up there, and we're just going to create a new visit. I'm going to get a. Oh, we're going to pause. Sorry about that. Real quick, let's do the follow-up on the allergic conjunctivitis. I'm getting too excited and jumping ahead. So we did a lot of stuff on this past visit. Now the patient's coming in 6 days later. They've been doing their over-the-counter or their meds, the cool compress, and we're addressing just the allergic conjunctivitis. Okay, so I'm going to hit new visit. Uh-oh. Hey. Um, it only happens during live ones. Let me go ahead and okay. Let me. Okay, I did. Let me see if I can do one on this patient, different patient, but you can see I did a visit earlier today for practice, and let me see if it'll allow me on this one. If not, we might transition to the browser because I have it open. Okay, it was just that patient. Okay, so we're doing a follow-up on an allergic conjunctivitis, and we're going to use this view exclusively right here again. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our follow-up visit by using our add CC HPI review of systems. And I'm going to use the follow-up complaint. Okay. So instead of adding chief complaint, I'm just going to go ahead and click follow-up complaint. Okay. Over to the left-hand side, you can see all past visits. Okay. You can see there's a lot of different past visits over here. I want to find the original one for the allergic conjunctivitis, and here it is right here. And I'm going to click the plus right here. All right. So it's kind of like an abbreviated HPI. Patient presents for further evaluation and management. Now I'm going to address anything else that applies in here. So, modifying factors, it's been better with meds. Patient states it has gotten better and the treatment was followed as expected. Yes. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. All right. Would normally do, a review of systems on a quick follow-up. I'm going to go into my vision exam and I'm going to do a quick VA. Back to 2020. Now I'm going to go back to my overview. Okay, so instead of going down and entering my simple eye exam and then adding my diagnosis and all my counseling, okay, I'm going to utilize this right up here, view import previous, okay? You might be using this currently in your other view. This is where this is right here. All right, so I'm going to find the visit for that original visit, and I believe here it is right here, okay? So this allows me to pick and choose what I bring forward, okay? And my other visit would have been better because I had multiple diagnosis, but we had a little error on that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull forward the exam, all right? And I'm going to pull forward the diagnosis, right? But they no longer have the finding. They've gotten better. So I can uncheck the finding and I can come down here. I no longer want them to follow up and I don't want to re-prescribe over the counter, or I'm just going to counsel them, finish out, continue doing the eye drops if it gets better. If it gets worse, give us a call. All right, I'm going to hit apply. Perfect. All right, so now when I scroll up, you can see my vision exam, my slit lamp is back to normal. And here's my allergic conjunctivitis. And if I would like to click resume and be specific on what I told the patient, maybe I uncheck this, and then in the contact office, if it gets worse, go ahead and give us a call and we'll address that. So pretty quick visit. All right. Now we will do our diabetic visit. I'm going to attempt to go back to our other patient, hopefully leaving. Is that we only ever have errors when we're doing it live. Hmm. Okay, so we're not going to use that patient. I love it. So, all right. So now we will do our diabetic visit. Okay. I'm going to point out a couple different things during this. You might be aware of everything. We're once again going to use that view. I'm just trying to really push y'all in the direction of using the new view. And I'm also going to point out some things that you might not be aware of. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new visit. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and obviously I would review the past medical history, ocular history. Like I said, I'm trying to save some time so we can make it through a lot of different visits for this. So I'm going to jump right to our chief complaint. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start with a diabetic ocular evaluation. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click each eye. And in the HPI, so they're here for a diabetic exam, associated symptoms, severity, it's mild, duration, they've had it for, a number of years. This is what I wanted to point out right here. All right. So your A1Cs and your fasting blood sugar. Okay. You don't enter this here. I'm going to show you a better area to enter this. It'll allow you to monitor this over a long period of time. Okay. So obviously we would adjust our pertinent history, past meds, all of that. I'm going to go ahead and save us some time and save that. All right. So now I'm going to go back to our chief complaint. And I'm going to go ahead and add in our diabetes information. All right, so I'm going to select A1Cs, and I will say that their A1Cs, not too bad. They're 6.5. And then the date was, what's today's date? 08, 12. There you go. All right, and I'm just going to enter that. I'm going to save that. All right, you can enter the fasting blood sugar also. All right, so why enter it here? Okay, that's a great question. So it has to do with the eye log. Okay, so if you're seeing the same patients over a long period of time, you want to monitor that information going over all the visits that you see them. So when I click on the eye log, this first tab right here, you see there's a lot of different tests in here. But if I scroll on down on this page, you can see, here we go. So now you can see my past visits. I can monitor this information going over a period of time. Okay, and this patient has been in my office a lot. Okay, so that's why you want to enter it. Only that diabetes information tab, chief complaint, is what updates this. Okay. Furthermore, let me show you, if you're seeing a lot of diabetics, instead of scrolling down on this, I want to see their visual acuities, IOPs, and their fasting blood sugar or A1Cs. I'm going to click up here on the filters, and I'm going to select everything that I just want to see for my diabetics, and then fasting blood. And before I apply this filter, okay, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to hit apply filter. And now take a look. Now I have a quick filter up here. So every time I click the eye log now, and I can build a number of different these depending upon, the types of patients that you see. And all I do is I come in here, instead of having to click filters every time, I have these pre-built filters where I click diabetic, and it just shows me the information that I want to see. All right. All right, let me go ahead and close that. All right, I'm going to jump into our vision exam. I'll just do a quick visual acuity and a IOP. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the vision exam, so we can focus on different areas. All right. So now I'm going to do my simple exam. All right. If you dilated, you would add your dilation drops inside the vision exam. I probably should have done that. I can go back and do that here in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add in my disc ratios. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to add my diagnosis. All right, so watch how fast this is, even faster if you have protocol. So I'm just gonna do a counseling, a follow-up, and maybe a fundus photo. Counseling, follow-up, fundus photo. If I want to add findings, I can simply click here, no diabetic retinopathy, hit save. Notice it doesn't bring up the eyes for us to specify. Diabetes does not have ICD-10, it's always bilateral. Okay, so the reason I wanted to do this is we get a lot of calls, okay, about coding issues with diabetics. All right, so if I scroll back up to the top, anytime you see your billing and you see this yellow, that's bad. Okay, we don't want these to be yellow. That means something has not been addressed. And for diabetic visits, and this seems to be the biggest one we get the most calls about, is that usually once you set your counselings, you're used to adding counselings, maybe you've updated those sticky notes a long time ago, you must go into your diabetes counseling, okay? And let me show you which one. So quality 117, you must answer this, okay? Depending upon what you did during that visit. This is also where you get your M1220, M1221, 2024F, 2025F, 2023Fs. Okay, so if I choose one of these, okay, and I can address any of these others, but this first quality 117 is very important. Okay, so I'm done with that. Now I will address my follow-up. So
Hi, Jonathan. I just want to let you know we have about 5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Oh, wow. Okay. Almost done.
Oh, you know what? Actually, no, we don't. I'm off. Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. All right. There we go. Okay. So now when I scroll back up, now you can see I have all my relevant codes. Now my biller is not angry at me because my ICD-10 E119 is not yellow, and I have my M1221 and my 2023F. All right. Okay, so we do have more time, and I'm going to keep going. Okay. So let's do a quick glaucoma visit. All right. Let's show the power of this new view with the use of protocols. Okay. So if you are not using protocols, you can already see if you're not using protocols, you definitely need to be using this view. It's way more efficient than using the ocular exam. If you are using protocols, it just makes this view a lot more efficient. Okay. So let's go ahead and create a new visit. All right, so let's go ahead and add a chief complaint. I'm gonna do a really quick chief complaint. We'll say glaucoma. Number of years, and we'll save some time doing save complaint. All right, I would do my review of systems. Let me go ahead and do that. All right, no more eye pain, but they do have some blurred vision. There we go. Vision exam. Like I said, I'm just going to do the bare minimum in here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on refractions, giving glasses, all that stuff, just so we can focus on some other areas. Okay. So protocols. Okay. So I'm not going to go into my simple eye exam and add my simple eye exam there because I have eye exams built in my protocols. I also have a glaucoma protocol. So I'm going to click right here on protocols. All right. So I'm going to choose either my dilated or non-dilated. I'll choose my non-dilated for now, and then I'll scroll down to my POAG, and I'm going to choose this one right here. Okay. You might end up having 4 different glaucoma protocols. If you're not using protocols, I highly suggest you look at our help menu. We do have a few good videos going over protocols. They're not that tough. You want to build them on the browser. But I have anywhere from doctors that have 20 protocols that say address the vast majority of their visits to I have many, many doctors with well over 100 protocols. Okay. The sky's the limit with protocols. This is a very basic POAG with a lot of different tests. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Perfect. So now I'm going to scroll down. I do have my eye exam. Okay. I'm going to click my simple eye exam right here, and I'm just going to quickly add some disc ratios. So why I love protocols, because I know you doctors are very busy. So I'm going to scroll down. Okay, so I am going to address this ICD-10 expert really quick, okay, because that'll affect my ICD-10 code. So I'm just going to say we're in mild stage. Okay, at this point, okay, I have a lot of different tests. I have visual fields testing. I have fundus photos. I have OCT. I have a prescription. I'm really busy today. I don't have time sitting in front of the patient to go into each one of these and select resume and add all my specific findings. I can't do that right now. I got to get this patient out the door. I have to go to the next patient. I used my protocol. So really all I did was basically address this ICD-10 expert. It's got all my tests defaulted. So when I scroll up to the top, take a look. all my coding is there. Okay, so I got my 92250, I got my 92083. I won't give you both codes for your OCT and your fundus. If I want to build the 99 code, I'm going to go ahead and choose that 99213. Okay. So my coding is correct. Almost as soon as I add that that protocol in there, because all those plans generate the codes, regardless of the findings, I can go ahead, hit send fees. I can go to the next patient. I'm going to come back in to this visit later on, and I'm going to scroll down, and now I'm going to start addressing the specifics in here. Maybe I want to add some findings. I can click more over here. I can hit add findings, all the same findings we have. So I'm going to do, there we go, done. So I've added some findings. I'm going to go to my automated perimetry. I'm going to click resume on that, make sure my test type is selected, and then go to findings and add my findings for my visual fields. And then I'm going to do the same for my fundus and my OCT. All right. You're not held to what the protocol gives you. Okay. Maybe today I didn't do a prescription. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Maybe I did do gonio. So I can easily come up and hit add plans just to the right. And it should be right here. And then I'm going to go address my findings for that and my eye exam. All right. Keep in mind for this, and this is going to throw a little wrench at you. I've already sent my fees. I removed that prescription. So I probably no longer qualify for that level 399. Just something to be aware of coding wise. And we're not going to have enough time to dig into coding today. But just wanted to point that out. All right. So now we'll stop and we will open it up to Q&A.
Okay, I do not see any questions in the Q&A. However, I would like to remind everybody, if you do have a question, you can enter them by using the Q&A icon on the top of your screen. We'll give it another minute. If not, then we can wrap up the webinar. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions today. Can you pull up the training slide, please? Perfect. And if you are looking for additional training, you can check out our other learning options, such as documentation, tutorials and walkthroughs, role-based training, additional training webinars, one-on-one virtual training, and on-site training or consultations. You can learn more at eyefinity.com/education. And with that, I would like to thank you, Jonathan, for your time and for the valuable information you shared with us. And thank you to everyone on the line for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. This concludes our presentation.
Thank you.